Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi's CWK Live. It's Monday night. It's 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, and I am your host, Dan Z. Thrilled to be with you, talking some Star Wars with our wonderful Star Wars community. Can you believe it? It's October 19th, which means, of course, the Star Wars book comes out tomorrow. I can't believe we are here. Some people have already gotten the book. Of course, if you're in the UK, it's been out for a couple of weeks, which is pretty crazy. And some people are getting it for review. There's been a lot of buzz on social media and on the net about the book, so I'm thrilled and excited about that. So it bodes well, but it matters the most to me what you think and your enjoyment of it. I think you're going to learn a lot about Star Wars. You're going to learn a lot more about different ways to think about this galaxy far, far away than you ever dreamed. In fact, I was just looking at it yesterday and I thought, wow, because there's still little nuggets that I find from things that myself, Cole Horton, and Pablo Hidalgo wrote. And it's really, really cool. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what's brewing in the world of Star Wars. Much, much more to come. All right, so this is what's going on in the world of Star Wars. Tonight, at halftime of Monday Night Football, is a new look at Season 2 of The Mandalorian. We're going to talk about the Mandalorian a little bit later in the show, but I'm assuming it's going to be a trailer. Maybe it's going to be kind of a sizzle reel / behind the scenes kind of a thing. I don't know, but it's very exciting just knowing how close we are to seeing The Mandalorian. People are really, really fired up. Oh, let's say hello to everybody who's here in the cafe and Coffee with Kenobi for Facebook Live. Carter, hello. Carter, great to see you, my friend. Great job on the announcements today. Minta, it's CWK Day, and she placed an order for the book. Well, thank you, Minta, so much. I really appreciate that. Zach, good to see you here, buddy. Zach and I chat a lot on Coffee with Kenobi's Instagram, so it's good to have you here, Zach. Very much so. Jim, hello. As always, good to have you. And Mary as well. Happy Monday to you. And Blake, what's up, man? Good to have you here. Hello, LJ. LJ, good to talk with you, man. Greg, nice to chat with you as well. Ross says hello from rainy Indy. Oh, man, it's been kind of a rainy sort of a week, hasn't it? Wow. Well, hopefully you get an umbrella and get out of that rain, buddy. Cato, yes, the book is coming out very, very soon. Terry, good to see you and chat with you here. Mary, I'm looking forward to you reading it and seeing what you think, especially as an educator, because there's a lot of that in this, as you'll see. LJ says, best-selling author Dan Z has a nice ring to it. Well, thank you, my friend. You know what? That does have a nice ring to it. And actually, it's the top, according to Amazon, it's the #1 selling book in the UK for Star Wars books, which is pretty great considering all the amazing fiction that's out there. So let's keep that going. Lisa, good to have you here on Coffee with Kenobi, of course. Greg says, shout out to Jim in his home state of Ohio. That's right. And Colby, good to have you here, buddy. Your journey is very Han Solo. You get an idea and say, ooh, okay, and bam, you wrote a book. That's right. There's so much to share about the behind the scenes. There's going to be a lot of that on Coffee with Kenobi over the next few weeks. Rick is back. Rick, good to have you, buddy. Rick says it's 2 a.m. in the UK. Whoa, my goodness. Well, hopefully this will soothe you and eventually get you to sleep when the show's over, of course. Rick, good to have you. Matthew, hello, buddy. Good to have you here. Greg is here, of course, as I mentioned. Mason is here. Wow, look at all this. Matthew sells his autographed coffee mug. That's right. A couple of years ago, Matthew sent me a coffee mug, a Coffee with Kenobi original, and myself and Corey autographed it, right? Does that sound right, Matthew? I think that's right. So pretty cool. Really, really cool. All right, so what's brewing in the world of Star Wars? I promised you an announcement, so let's hear it. I've gotten a lot of wonderful requests and inquiries about signings. How do I get this book signed? All that good stuff. Of course, at Celebration was going to be a big signing, but there wasn't a celebration, so we make do. And of course, there is a pandemic going on, so we have to be very conscientious of that. But we are going to try to do some things, at least in the local central Illinois area, and we'll kind of see what grows from there. But the first official book signing I am proud to announce right here on CWK Live is this Saturday at Eli's Coffee Shop, which is in Metamora, Illinois, from at 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock. It's very much going to be an open house, meet and greet. I am waiting to hear from DK about how many books we'll have available. Or you have to bring your own copy, but stay tuned to this spot, and I will be promoting it all over social media and in the CWK Cafe and on Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook feed. So you can find out more about if you need to bring your own book or if I'll have some extras there for you. Either way, I know it's short notice, and some of you certainly don't live as very close, but if you are somewhere in the area, I would absolutely love to see you. And I'd have it on good authority that Tom Gross and Corey Clubb are going to be there as well. So you're going to get the entire CWK pour over group. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. LJ says, oh man, Liz has a player else. I'm making the drive. Hey man, that's all right. Hopefully there'll be other experiences. And Blake wants to know if the second one will be in Melbourne, Florida. You know what? I would love to do a signing in Florida, man. If we do go in the Florida area, I will be sure that you are the first person in line for sure. Oh, Zach says he lives in Low Point. Wow, great, Zach. Well, it'd be great to see you. I know a lot of our locals are going to be coming, so it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing everybody there, and thank you again so much for your incredible support. It means the world to me. It really, really does. Jim says he got a shipping notification for his copy. Can't wait to dive in. Isn't that great? And so I don't know if that's weird or not, but I ordered a copy too. I mean, yes, the publisher supplied some books for me, but I just feel like I should buy my own book just because I just think it's cool. You know, it's really, really cool. Colby says, looks like you're going to have to do a tour. Wouldn't that be fun? You know what? Difficult to see the future is, Colby. Ross wants to know how much does Tom charge for autographs. You know what? I would love to answer that for you, Ross, but Tom, when I want to talk to Tom, no, I have to talk to his agent first, and then I get to talk to Tom. So once his agent gets back to me, I will let you know. And if I had an MP3 of the laugh of Tom Gross, I would be playing it right now. So we'll have to settle for this laugh. Ross says, if you have to ask it, you can't afford it. That's probably true. All right, so speaking of books, there's a lot of great books coming out tomorrow, besides the fun of the Star Wars book. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for your encouragement and support and your enthusiasm for it. It's going to be fun. Well, also coming out tomorrow is the Lightsaber collection from Insight Publishing. Let's just see. I'm not sure how much I can show you, but I think I'll just turn to a random page here. Here's a Jedi Temple Guard page. It's got some nice text. It's got close-ups of the actual lightsabers themselves. And then it's got, some of them have fold-outs to show how they look when they're ignited. And it's really, really slick. I mean, Mason was looking at it today. I thumbed through it. I'm going to really pour over it later. And it's great. It's really, really cool. So I definitely recommend that you check that out. Speaking of checking things out, it's time to go into our top fives and talk about our favorite Han Solo moments. Let's see here. Yep, Han Solo moments. And you know what? Every week, it gets harder and harder to come up with these lists. But this one was actually the hardest one I've done because usually it's easier to narrow it down to 5, 6, 7. But for this one, it was not. It was not very easy at all because I came up with 12 or 13. And I thought, well, geez. And I've always considered myself much more of a Luke person than a Han person. And I still feel that way. But I don't know. There's something about Han Solo that is just so great. So my number 5 favorite Han Solo moment is a lightsaber solo. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that on Hoth, there's that great little moment where Luke, well, it's not great that Luke's in trouble, but Luke needs help. And Han Solo comes and rescues him. Again, that's to Yomi Jr., as he says later in A New Hope, or later in The Empire Strikes Back. But he ignites a lightsaber and slices open that tauntaun. And I was always so enamored, and I think many of us were, that Han Solo was holding a lightsaber even though he was not a Force wielder and he doesn't know how to use it. But he knows it's a cutting tool. It was just a really cool moment that I think a lot of people really, really enjoyed. So Minta's number 5 is That's Not How the Force Works from The Force Awakens. One that was certainly on my list, by the way, Minta. For Greg, who's scruffy looking? That line doesn't miss a beat. Great moment from The Empire Strikes Back. Absolutely agree. A fantastic moment and very, very funny. And I predict it's going to show up again for sure. By the way, Tyler Pompa, our good friend, he's not here tonight because it's he and his wife's first anniversary. So that's really cool. But he made a list, a top 5 that he wanted me to share. So I'm pulling it up from my phone so I can share it with you. And it's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. In the meantime, what else do people have while I'm pulling that up? Lisa is number 5. Lisa, the biggest Solo fan I know. She says, from Solo, after fatally shooting his mentor in an act of self-defense, he rushes to Beckett's side and holds him at the end. It's a gesture of real affection, even in light of the betrayal, and it shows Han's heart. Good call. Oof, that's a heady, emotional one for sure. But that's a good one, Lisa. Absolutely. Let's see. Who else we got here? Blake's number 5, the forced projection of Han to Kylo in The Rise of Skywalker. I didn't like that film at all, but I thought that moment was absolutely beautiful. Indeed. I'm going to bring that moment up later for sure. Jim says, Han telling Kira we're going to win when they're about to face off with Dryden. I really just like his hopeful optimism. You know what? I like that too. Solo is a great movie. I've been getting a real urge to watch it again recently, and I know Mason loves it. He's only seen it once, so I feel like we need to watch it again for sure. Terry says, not in a specific order for me, but number 5 is Han meeting Chewie, the way Han uses his brain to get out of a difficult situation, and the way Han speaks Wookiee is pretty fun. I think it's more funny when the Mandalorian speaks Jawa and how they mock him, but this is cute because you actually get to hear Shriwook, which is of course the Wookiee language, uttered through a human, and I think it's just great. Plus the significance of them meeting. Carter says, when Han is unfrozen, is told that Luke is a Jedi now and feels saved, and he goes, I'm out of it for a little while. Everybody gets delusions of grandeur. And I remember saying to my mom, what does delusions of grandeur mean? And I learned a lot of vocabulary from Star Wars. Good one, Carter. Rick says, you're cold, which was in my list of favorite funny Star Wars moments. It's a great one, Rick. Ross is number 5. Han's ghost talking to Kylo / Ben on The Rise of Skywalker. Yes, a wonderful one that someone brought up earlier. Powerful stuff. Mary's I know. The Carbonite room saying I know, but also in Solo when Lando says I hate you and he says I know. I like that too, Mary, how that was sort of an ironic callback, I would say. Number 5 for LJ, Han's face the first time he sees the Falcon in Solo. Love at first sight. That is a powerful moment, definitely in my honorable mentions. And then Yahoo in A New Hope, which is of course the moment when Zach, how about that? When Han Solo swoops in and saves the day, which is good. Joseph Michael says, I've got a bad feeling about this. Of course, classic. Tyler's number 5 is Boring Conversation Anyway. One of his favorite funny scenes. He says, when all else fails, just start blasting. And that is certainly a Han Solo motto. Mason had a whole bunch. We couldn't narrow his down because he had so many to choose from. But a lot of the ones that I like, he likes as well. Okay, let's go to number 4 of your top 5 favorite Han Solo moments. For me, a very, very special one, Chewie, we're home. So, honestly, the biggest thing about this one for me, yes, it's nice in the movie. It's wonderful in the movie. I get goosebumps almost every time. But when we first saw this at Celebration Anaheim, that was so goosebump-inducing because that entire room, thousands and thousands of people started screaming and yelling because we couldn't believe we were seeing Harrison Ford as an older Han Solo with Chewbacca in the Falcon. It had been since 1983, and this was in 2015. So it was a really long wait, but boy, was it worth it. The electricity was unbelievable. So that's my number 4. Okay. Number 4 for Tyler, I'll read Tyler's now, is, hey, it's me. His reaction to Luke telling him to be careful on Endor is something I quote regularly. I do like the smarminess of that for sure. All right. So other number 4s. Look at this wonderful list. Greg's, we're all fine here now. How are you? Also a great unexpected line from the firefight in A New Hope. Absolutely. Colby's is great kid, don't get cocky. Oh, I hadn't thought about that as a top moment. That's a fun one too, and sort of iconic, really, Colby. Kato's number 4 is I've got a good feeling about this in Solo. Yeah, it's one of the few times where we get it flipped around, and Han Solo's the guy that's continually sort of flipping the notion of what it means to be a hero. So that's perfect. I like that. Number 4 for Carter, when he fired Chewie's bowcaster from The Force Awakens, it implies he had never fired the blaster, which I always found sort of shocking. But he was really kind of taken aback by how powerful it is, and that is a fun moment. Minta is number 4, the scene from Solo and Han and Chewie immediately team up to escape the stormtroopers. Yeah, a great scene. And I actually, when I was at Disney World years ago for Galactic Nights, I got to interview Eunice Suetamo about that, and he was talking about how muddy he was and how it was just kind of nasty, but how much fun they had too and how physical it was. It's a great scene. Good call, Minta. Gems, number 4, Han jumping in the Falcon cockpit for the first time in Solo, and in the way he just kind of kicks in the controls and fires it up. It's a great moment. Number 4, for Ross, Han and Chewie's exchange with Enfys Nest at the end of Solo, alluding to the rebellion. That's a cool one, how Alden Ehrenreich kind of gives that little smirk. It's a great one. Rick's number 4, the way Han leans into and rests on Chewie while talking to Luke on the Death Star, discussing how to find the princess. Oh, that's kind of a fun character piece. That's very subtle. I like that, Rick. Number 4 for Terry, Han's appearance and dialogue in The Rise of Skywalker, a tear shed every time I see it. Yes, and I think so far that one has come up more than any of the examples we've had tonight, so that's great. Blake's number 4, not a specific scene, but anytime he gets annoyed or talks down to C-3PO in The Empire Strikes Back, it's always laugh out loud funny. It is great, and one of the things I always look forward to when I show this movie to people who've never seen it before is because I think Han's pretty witty in that. LJ, number 4, situation normal, the whole interaction, the detention block between Han and the Imperials on the comm. Yes, absolutely. So I think that and so Han's appearance in The Rise of Skywalker are tied for the most times coming up. Number 4 for Mary, punch it every single time. Love it. That's right. Absolutely, Mary. Good one. Lisa from Solo, not if you round down, buddy, so it wasn't really 12 parsecs. Yeah, that one always, like the poor math person in me is always like, wait, what? And it is funny. LJ, I'm enjoying all the Solo Star Wars story love here. Isn't that cool? I mean, maybe somebody's job should be to tally how many movies these different things come from. But yeah, there's a lot of Solo love, and that's cool. Number 4 for Zach, his arm around Lando, and then Lando says that he hates him. Yeah, there's just definitely not love there. And then Craig, Coruscant Community College, Craig's new podcast is up now live, so be sure to subscribe to that. And it's a great one. Craig chimes in to say, sanitation? I love that one too, because Han Solo's like, wait, what? I'm trusting you with this? Yeah. No thanks. Very good. All right. So that is number 4. How about your number 3 favorite Han Solo moment? For me, I just wrote, and it's this scene. It's the scene in A New Hope when Han runs down the Death Star corridor, gets this like incredible courage / moment of insanity. He starts chasing after the stormtroopers who have been chasing him all this time. And then he turns the corner, and also there are a whole bunch of stormtroopers. Now, some of you may know that before the special edition, there were just a couple just standing there waiting to chase him. And then George Lucas went in and added a whole bunch of stormtroopers in activity. And so Han runs backwards. And one thing I really like about this, besides the humor of him getting in way over his head, which is kind of the theme of Han Solo's life, is that when he's running back, he's running backwards holding the blaster, and he kind of goes to the side as he's running backwards and shoots it. And it's just really, really smooth. I don't know how many takes that took Harrison Ford, but just really smooth and confident and reckless all at the same time. It's a perfect encapsulation to me of what Han Solo is. All right. Let me resize that. That's driving me crazy. There we go. All right. Then let's see what everybody else has for their number 3s. Kato says when he gives Rey the blaster and offers her a job in The Force Awakens. Well, that's a nice call. I hadn't thought about that one, but I really like that one, Kato. Rick's number 3. Every time Han holds his finger up at someone, that the famous Harrison Ford point that he gives. It's certainly in a lot of his movies and always entertaining. And then we've got Minta, Chewie, we're home. I get chills and tears of joy every time. Yes, it's just a goosebump, powerful moment because we know what it means. For Terry, number 3, returning to help Luke destroy the Death Star. Yes, as in the hero's journey, that is the moment. Outside help or rescue that makes such a pivotal moment in the success of the heroes. That's a great call, Terry. Jim says Han coming back to help Luke at the end of the Death Star attack. Look at that. Jim and Terry, great minds think alike. Back to back, same example, a great one. LJ's number 3, and that's not how the Force works. I crack up every time I hear it. It is funny. It's very funny, especially the irony of Han suddenly far from a skeptic of the Force, where of course he was a New Hope, and then he's like, "Are you kidding me? That's not how the Force works." He's just so frustrated. Mary's number 3, Solos. I have a really good feeling about this, but all the other times he says I have a bad feeling about this. Yes, those are great. I feel like I've got a bad feeling about this. I think of Han Solo saying that more than anybody else. Lisa, number 3, Empire. The small smile Han gives Leia as he's being lowered into the into the carbon freeze chamber. He might not have said it directly, but the gesture expresses his love and the sadness of knowing he might never see his princess again. Yeah. I had a hard time not putting all 5 of these from the carbon freeze chamber because that's such a powerful moment for me. But I used it so much in other ones, so I didn't. But it's certainly top character moments, not only for Han Solo, but any character in Star Wars. Zach's number 3, Han's appearance in the Battlefront 2 campaign. Ooh, cool. Well, that's kind of a fun deep cut. I love that. Greg's number 3, not bad for a little furball. Yeah, the Return of the Jedi. I neglected to put any Return of the Jedi moments in my list, Greg, but that's great. And fun and funny, and just there's a lot of good quips there from Harrison Ford. Blake's number 3, his I know moment with Leia. His character developed so much in Empire, and that scene was on an amazing way to climax his character in so many ways during it. Oh, I agree. It's very, very entertaining and very engaging for sure. Jay's, it's true. The Force, the Jedi, all of it. It's all true. Oh, Jay, that's a great quote. And welcome to Facebook Live. So nice to have you here, my friend, for sure. So that's a good one. And that was an honorable mention for me because that shows that the skeptic has become the believer, which is a very powerful thing, especially in our culture. So I love that one as well. Because if he knows it's real and he's believing it, then we're in for a huge ride. And I think The Force Awakens was an excellent, entertaining movie. All right, let's go into your number 2. Let's see. Oh, I neglected to add Tyler's number 3. Let me pull it 3 for Tyler. He says, Han meets Chewie for the first time. Such a great head-butting interaction, a perfect start to a lifelong friendship. And Mason and I were talking about this in the car today. I see those two as kind of like brothers, really, Han and Chewie. They're just a good team. All right, my number 2, and this has been mentioned before. I try not to talk a lot about it, but it's the Episode 9 surprise. So, narratively, this is a very powerful moment for me because Kylo gets a chance, and we get a chance to properly say goodbye to Han Solo and to make that scene right from The Force Awakens. It really haunted a lot of us. And it was legitimately a surprise, and it will always be very special to me because, of course, I was at the premiere in Hollywood now, sitting next to my wife, and we were watching this movie for the first time, and the adrenaline was unbelievable. And then it was off screen, but Kylo Ren was standing there, and there's all this rain, and all of a sudden I heard, "Hey, kid," and I got goosebumps, and I said, oh, "Do you know who that is? Do you know who that is?" to Deanna. And then Han Solo, Harrison Ford, comes walking out, and mind blown, so happy no matter what happened. And I've certainly been very honest about my feelings about Episode 9, but that moment is just so wonderful. And how I got to see that moment, like so many things in Star Wars with collecting or these movies, is what sticks with me all the time when I think about these wonderful movies. So that is a great moment a lot of you have brought up already. Let's see what everybody else has. Number 2 for Kato, ain't no all-powerful Force controls my destiny. That's, of course, A New Hope, right after when Luke is training. Watching Luke train, and Ben has felt the destruction of Alderaan. Then he says they're coming up on the system. It's just a classic pre-skeptical Han Solo moment, for sure. Rick says, laugh it up, fuzzball. A top one, a classic. And Minta has the exact same one for her number 2. I love it when our CWK friends come up with the same stuff back to back. That's just really fun. And what are the odds? I don't know, but it's great. For Jim, Han descending into carbonite and The Empire Strikes Back. The narrative, the music, all of it is so powerful. Lisa says, from the rise of Skywalker, Han to Ben. I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good call. It's in that same sequence I'm showing you in episode for my number 2. It's so good. So powerful. It's just understated. And that's great. It's great. James, good to have you here, James. James says, when Han Solo fires his blaster at Vader in Empire Strikes Back at the dining room table on Cloud City, just to show that even though he knows he can't do nothing to stop Vader, he still fires to protect his friends. James, very, very well said. And actually, Mason and I were talking about how that would be a top Vader moment as well. That's character defining for in many ways to several of the characters in that sequence. Blake's number 2, him bragging about the Falcon in the docking bay in A New Hope to Luke and Obi-Wan. It showed early on his connection to that ship. Such a great, iconic moment for sure. Blake, and hopefully the first time you saw the Falcon at Galaxy's Edge, you got that angle that Luke did as well. 2 for LJ, the princess, you've got to protect her. Yeah, Han's message to Chewie to calm him down as he's about to get frozen. The I'm only in it for the money Han is gone. At that moment, he's only worried about his friends. LJ, extremely well said. Extremely well said. Yes, that is a great moment. It shows the heart, and is very much kind of a passing of the baton in a way too, because suddenly Han is like, you know what? You're losing your mentor and me, Chewie, but you can take care of things. You can help protect the ones I love, and you can be yourself and be in charge. And it shows your vulnerability, but it also shows your love and loyalty. So it's a great moment. Terry's number 2. Han asked Luke, how are we doing? And the reply was, that bad, huh? It made his top 5 list 2 weeks ago. I remember that, Terry. Yeah, I remember that. That's so good. That's so funny. Zach, Force Awakens, on the Falcon, you have to stand off when they are there like there's no one else you can swindle, LOL. Yeah, that's the great moment right before we get to see what Han and Chewie actually are doing out in the middle of space and the Rathars, and something a lot of the characters will never forget. Though the ones who got eaten will forget, of course. Greg says, number 2, well, you said you wanted to be around when I made a mistake. Classic making up as he goes along, that's for sure. Tyler, I love you, I know. To me, he doesn't say it with cockiness like it may seem. He says with affirmation. It was the unspoken truth that they both knew and now had finally been said. Great payoff with Leia on Endor as well. Pure chemistry. Wonderful. Yes, Tyler, that is a great example. A great example. I love you, I know. I'm surprised it hasn't come up more, but maybe it will for number 1 for people. Ross is number 2. Han and Leia seeing each other outside Maz Kanata's castle in The Force Awakens. Intense, awkward, they've conquered everything but parenthood. Ooh, Ross, what a great thing. Look at that. Ross is a writer, you know. That's good stuff. And it's true, they have. And there's just that wonderful tension. Although, to me, the best reunion of Harrison Ford with the characters when he is reunited with Marion in Crystal Skull. But this one in The Force Awakens is a close second. Oh, Rick has got, he says, number 1, Han's beard in Battlefront 2. And then he says, only kidding, Chewie, we're home. Yeah, that's good. Hey, man, beards. Big fan of beards here. Coffee with Kenobi for sure. Tyler's number 2 was the Chewie we're home moment, stepping back onto the Falcon. It's one of the greatest moments in all of Star Wars. Such an epic, cheer-worthy moment. Very good. All right, let's get to your number 1. Number 1 for me, favorite Han Solo moment. The first Lightspeed experience. The first Lightspeed experience. Because, and this is my first one from Solo, but I could have easily picked all of my top 5s from Solo, but I didn't want to shortchange Harrison. But at first I was going to pick when he first sees the Falcon, and then I was going to pick when he first walks onto the bridge, and I was also going to pick the first time he actually flies it. But the sense of childlike joy and wonder that is on Alden Ehrenreich's face when they first go to Lightspeed is such a goosebump-inducing moment that I will never forget. I love it so much. It's just, it shows that love affair that Han has with the Falcon. That's great. And by the way, the Falcon's not a character. I just wanted to throw that out there again. Thank you, LJ. You're welcome. All right. Let's see what everybody else has for their number 1s. Greg's, Han shoots first, not a troll here, but for me, helps establish his character as a mercenary to later grow into a hero. I agree. And I think it's an essential part of him as a character too, Greg. Number 1 for Kato, the moment on Hoth, that argument in the hallway, I'd rather kiss a Wookiee. And then, of course, the retort, I can arrange that. I love that part too. Very funny. Ross is number 1. Han with Greedo in the canteen in A New Hope. The good guy with an edge. I've been a fan ever since. Agreed. Mason really loves that sequence too. Minta's number 1. I love you, I know. Can never get tired of that line. It's iconic. And have you seen Minta? They have like his and hers shirts. And I think hats. Disney World has them. Pretty fun. Someday I'm going to surprise Deanna with one of those shirts. Oh, so funny. All right, Terry. My first is a twofold quote. At first, when Han says, "Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid." After much life experiences, says, "I used to wonder about that myself. Thought it was a bunch of mumbo jumbo." Yeah, it's a good bookend, is what Terry's talking about. I'll pop it up here for you so you can see it again. But it's great because it's the moment where he's like, "Wow, completely." I'm skeptical. This is nonsense. And then, nope, it's real. It's true. Every single part of it. It's very important. It's very, very important. I forgot to put my picture. Yeah, the Lightspeed picture. When he first was about to experience Lightspeed, is so good. So cool. All right, number 1 for Jim. Han's introduction to the Mos Eisley Cantina in A New Hope. Just it's kind of like boom in your face and powerful. Lisa from Solo. Nothing encapsulates the magic of Solo more for me than the look on his face and the Falcon hits Lightspeed. Hey, look at that. The camera pans over his profile. His eyes are wide with wonder and that familiar grin. Yep, I agree. That's my number 1 as well, Lisa. It's a great moment. Just that joy that he has. Alden Ehrenreich is so good in that movie. Minta's honorable mention, Han versus Greedo. Han shot first. Of course he did. I agree with you. Absolutely. Zach's number 1. He says, Luke says, "Hey, I used to live here." And Han's like, "You're going to die here, you know. Convenient." LJ's number 1. Han facing off with Greedo in the cantina. First, he tries to talk his way out of it, which is a classic Han. But once that didn't work, he didn't hesitate to shoot first. It showed immediately that he was a rogue and a good starting point for his character to grow. That's right. Very well said, LJ. Lisa's claiming that I stole her number 1, but actually, I think we can just share it. It's just a really good number 1. Blake's number 1. He's going to try to keep it short, but after his brief convo with Luke on Yavin, before they took on the Death Star, followed by him swooping in to save the day, showed he's more than a scoundrel and the genesis of an amazing character. Well, very well said, Blake. You're a writer yourself. That's great. And it is true. It shows that there's more to him than money, as Leia was frustrated with, of course. LJ says, "Of course, Ross had the same number 1 as me as a smart guy. I love it. That LJ humor and sass we need more of that in the CWK Cafe, LJ. I like that." Tyler, does all of Hoth Han count even though it's more than just a moment? You know what? I almost put the exact same thing. Everything with Han on Hoth, the parka, shooting the probe droid, everything. Between his interactions between Leia and 3PO as well as saving Luke, it's, let me put that back up there for you, Tyler. The dialogue of Han on Hoth is just incredible. I agree. Ross says, "LJ, it's the probe droid I sent over." Well, there you go. A little behind the scenes. Mary's number 1, Chewie, we're home. I think this is one of my top because of the emotion the statement evokes and how it shows the entire journey of Han. I still remember being in that arena in 2015 when Celebration participants saw it for the first time. I know, ugly crying. Oh, Mary, isn't that crazy? I'm surprised we didn't. Well, maybe we did pass each other at Celebration Anaheim, but that was such a great moment, and that's why that moment is powerful to me too, and why I made it my number 4. James says, "Mine would have to be during the Battle of Yavin when Luke is flying down the trench run and Vader is about to shoot him down, and out of nowhere, Han appears in the Falcon with Chewie and fires at Vader and says to Luke, 'You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.'" Boom. Terry's honorable mention. Han tells Luke, "May the Force be with you," before the Battle of Yavin. Shows his heart was in the right place, but his head wasn't quite there. And even when he says it, like even with Harrison's performance, you can tell he's like, but he still says it because he's starting to turn. He's starting to get his own little metanoia, his own little change of heart. Tyler's number 1 is Han saves the day, joining in the Death Star battle. That iconic whoop. It goes to show that Han truly is a good guy who would do anything for his friends. That's right. It's absolutely right. Well, that was great. That was so fun. Han Solo is a fun character. A lot of great memories and moments here. Lisa's got an honorable mention. From New Hope, Han returns, "You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home." And Terry says, "No one mentioned women always find out the truth." Oh, that's a good one from The Force Awakens. I love that one. That actually is a good candidate for the top funniest ones too. All right, next week, we're getting close to Halloween. And so we need to do something kind of Halloweenish. So we'll do a break from top moments of characters and look at top 5 Star Wars creatures. So this is relevant because of the Star Wars book. Of course, the book that's coming out tomorrow. So that is a reason I want you to find Star Wars creatures, both in movies, in Rebels, in Clone Wars, in comic books, and books. There are a lot of great Star Wars creatures. You can pick a sentient or a non-sentient one. Doesn't really matter to me. Although to me, a creature is more non-sentient, just sort of like primal. But top 5 Star Wars creatures will be for next week. Does creatures exclude deities? Yes, because a deity is not a creature to me. So yeah, just creatures. Basically like space animals or wild animals. Think of it that way. James says, Lisa, that was his number one. Kato says, definitely ran through my mind. Excellent call out. Well, good. Very good. All right, so we're going to jump into... We're not done with the show yet, but we're going to go ahead and jump into Dan Z. But before we do, I want to promote Coffee with Kenobi this week. This week we had Star Wars and Haunted Houses. Mark Kleinheinz joined me. He did the part one of the blog about Star Wars and Haunted Houses. And we talked about horror and the psychology of horror and how that works in Star Wars. And we talked a lot about Universal's Horror Nights and kind of what would be cool for Star Wars Haunted Houses. It was really great fun to talk about. So I had a great time with Mark. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Speaking of fun stuff to enjoy, this week on Pour Over, we talked about our... we got into part 2 of our top 10 Disney animated films. So this week was number 5 through one of our favorite Disney animated films. Last week I gave you a video trailer. And I've got a different video trailer. I'm going to set the stage for it first, though. Basically, here's the deal. So Tom was giving this passionate explanation of The Princess and the Frog and how much he loved it and the songs and the music and his memories with his daughters of seeing it. And Mark's so good, or Tom is so good about that. But he kept talking about The Princess and the Frog, but he was calling it The Frog and the Princess. So I had to kind of tease him a little bit about mixing up the title of the movie that he likes so much. And at first it kind of threw him, but those of you who've listened to myself, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb on CWK Pour Over exclusive Coffee with Kenobi Patreon show know kind of how that works. So here is a trailer for this week's CWK Pour Over.
Frog and the Prince, number 4.
Princess and the Frog is called, right?
I'm sorry?
Princess and the Frog is called, right? Not Frog and the Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did I?
Princess
I got that
Frog.
wrong. But yes,
Yeah.
I know what movie I'm talking about. I just don't know the name of it.
He got so worked up and so excited.
I have a Wars Star podcast, by the way. It's really
Yeah, I
cool.
was gonna say.
Oh my goodness. Well, I tip my hat to that one.
Oh man, those guys, we have so much fun every week on our Patreon show. And it's just, oh man, you see the funniness. You see the laughs, you see the good times we have. In the CWK Alliance and listen to CWK Pour Over. So much fun. All right, so we got a question here. James says, how does Han appear to Ben Solo in The Rise of Skywalker? He's not a Force ghost and never had Force potential. Well, James, to me, I think this is just a manifestation of Kylo Ren's subconsciousness, and I'm sure the Force helped to kind of manifest that for him to make peace and turn to the light side. Han Solo is not a Force ghost. Han Solo is unfortunately passed away. But this is sort of how Kylo Ren is healing, and where he's actually seeing that or that's just sort of playing out in his brain is hard to tell, but he's not a Force ghost for sure. Mary says Mark was great in the episode, and thank you so much. I loved having him on. He was awesome. All right, let's go on to Ask Dan Z, and we're going to talk a little bit about The Mandalorian. All right, so I'm bringing up The Mandalorian just because over the past week and a half, myself, my lovely wife Deanna, and then Mason, we watched season 1 of The Mandalorian. Now, of course, I had seen it many times, but it was the first go through from 1 to 8 for Mason, and it was the first time Deanna had seen it as well. And it was great. It was so much fun, as we've talked about so many times. Watching Star Wars with your family is the best. And seeing their reactions and hearing their conversations and just sort of what it inspired. And Mason was always going to be the Mandalorian Din Djarin for Halloween. But after seeing that, it kind of kicked it up another notch. And we've had a lot of fun playing the Mandalorian at our house. And I don't know about all of you, but I recommend rewatching The Mandalorian Season 1 because there's just some things I missed, and I think some episodes that I wasn't as sold on, although I liked all of them, but some I weighed much more highly than others. But now watching it again after knowing what I know about The Mandalorian, it is such a character-driven piece. I would encourage people to rewatch Season 1 or to watch it for the first time and not think of it as an arc of a story in Star Wars, but more of a character-driven, close, in-depth study of a character that's in the Star Wars universe, and that would be Din Djarin. And it's just, wow. It's just, I mean, I've always loved it, but it's so powerful that way. I just really, really appreciate and respect it. So, of course, on Coffee with Kenobi each and every week, we're going to be watching the show and talking about it every week. I'm assuming that Tom will join us for a weekly recap, and we'll have different guests come in and talk about The Mandalorian Season 2 as well. And then we're going to disconnect here pretty soon so that you can all watch Monday Night Football. And because at halftime, you're going to get to see a brand new look at Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And by the way, I know some people who are Star Wars fans aren't necessarily sports fans, and some people have said, hey, why are they showing new trailers on Monday Night Football? I don't like football. Well, the reason is because every week, Monday Night Football gets more ratings than any show on any network. So it's the most exposure. So that's why it's on Monday Night Football. So that's a pretty good reason, and it's great. It's going to be great fun. Ross says 2-minute warning of the first half of the football game. Okay, thank you, Ross. That's a good point. We'll be ready to disconnect here and watch it. Blake says my wife, who's a casual Star Wars viewer, absolutely loves The Mandalorian, so hit society hard in a great way. Absolutely. Absolutely. Greg says not much of a game. Well, I figured. 19 seconds to go. All right, well, we're going to disconnect. Hey, everybody, don't forget, this weekend, this Saturday, if you're in the area, at Eli's Coffee Shop in Metamora, Illinois, I will be doing a meet and greet, signing copies of the Star Wars book, which comes out tomorrow. I can't wait to have everybody read it. Next week, we're going to talk all about the Star Wars book. We're going to do our top 5 Star Wars creatures, but I want you to check the book out if you get a chance and get your questions ready so we can talk about it. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I can't wait to share it with all of you. As usual, be sure to join us next week, again, where we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite Star Wars creatures. Be sure to get the Star Wars book. And again, thank you so much for joining me every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Cato, thank you so much, my friend. It means a lot to me. Let's see. Ross says, happy Star Wars Book Eve, Dan. Congrats. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate all your support so much. Thank you, Terry, for joining us. Rick, given the advances in deepfake technology, you think we'll get an original character like Luke making a cameo at some point? Rick, I hope so. I mean, they're all around, so that would be great. I hope that does happen. Good evening, Greg. Meantime, I can't wait for you to read it too and see what you think. Mary, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. See you later, Blake. Have a good one, man. Jim, Jeff, thanks so much, everybody. Hey, everybody. Have a great week. Go get them. Be awesome. And remember, this is the podcast we're looking for. Hope to see you all this Saturday.